Hello and welcome. This is Jasmine and I'm here with my auntie Shon, and we want to show up for you. To have and to normalize conversations together that you may not have had the opportunity to engage in within your generation, your atmosphere, or even your household. We're so glad that you're here with us today. Welcome to Showing Up For You. Hey guys, we are back for another episode. Today we are going to be talking about toxic loyalty. In our last episode, we touched on what toxic loyalty looks like. So today we are going to get ready to unpack that. Auntie Shon, I'm stressed. How are you feeling about this one, in all honesty?
Same. It's very heavy. It's necessary, but it's heavy. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm stressed because this is actually, I wouldn't say it's all stress. Part of it's excitement, because this is something that I think about a lot, something that I try to, the older that I get, identify in my life. So I really want to jump into the question of how is it that you identify or recognize a toxic relationship?
Goodness, you're right, because recognizing it is hard. I think for me, a toxic relationship looks like more suffering than growth. So suffering to me can be a number of things. It can be like stress and anxiety, magnified insecurities, right? Instead of that comfort of like, you're fine the way you are, it's like this growing insecurity.
Right.
Like one of my favorites is like, it's not really a favorite, it's a horrible thing. But loss of control, like over yourself. Like I no longer am making myself happy or happy in the things that, you know, made me feel at peace. It's me doing things for somebody or me doing things to please someone else. Those are, I think, my like triggers of like, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah, definitely. Because identifying, if you've never had to identify something before, where do you start? You know, and I think with this, it's really hard to recognize or to identify. I would say for me, I notice my loyalty is toxic, or I'm in a toxic relationship is when I notice that I'm overcompensating.
Wow.
I'm overcompensating for somebody else's feelings. I'm even overcompensating for my feelings, meaning like I'm trying to convince myself I'm happy when I'm genuinely not. Like if I look, you know, if I were to lay out the context that I'm in and I'm trying to convince myself that I'm happy, like you're overcompensating in a way. I would also say that in moments that I don't recognize who I am anymore, kind of relating back to what I said, like when you kind of lay it out and you're like, you know, I'm trying to convince myself, but seeing that I'm trying to fit in a box for somebody, whether that be my boss, whether that be my friend, whether that be somebody I'm in a romantic relationship with, just recognizing that I'm not my best self.
Yeah. Okay, that's exhausting. And like you're burning no calories at that. Like I'm listening to you and that's a lot of work. And what are you showing for it? You know what I mean? To give up self or compromise or sacrifice self, not to say we do everything for a return, but to literally see it go down the drain and like you are continuing to decrease, and not even in a spiritual way where it's like, oh Lord, I'm decreasing in me so that you can increase and you can fill this temple. It's like, no, I'm just small up in here, right? That's exhausting. And I think you said, you know, just the idea of you and you not, I guess, not feeling like you are met in the middle. I heard that in you saying that overcompensation. I feel like that sometimes, you know, we're not met in the middle in a relationship. And I feel like that's overreaching. Like there's going to be times in different relationships where you have to do a little bit more work. You know, I look at like me and my husband, we've had seasons where like, all right, you got a lot going on and this is where I could step in for this season, right? And then next season it's my turn. So yeah, there's gonna be that, like, I'm doing a little bit more work, but like what I hear you saying is like, no, I'm doing all the work,
right,
and I'm not being met, and that's exhausting. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot, sadly, but I mean, I've learned from it. I would say, like, I found myself in this situation a lot, that I'm constantly overcompensating. You know, as we were thinking about this topic and kind of things that we wanted to touch on, immediately at first what came to my mind was like, when you're always sacrificing. But I don't think sacrifice necessarily needs to have a negative connotation attached to it, because I think that there is healthy sacrifice. You know, like you had mentioned earlier, you know, with your husband, there's things that he carries or things that you carry, or, you know, it goes back and forth, but it's all because you are in a healthy relationship. Your loyalty to one another is healthy. So sacrifice isn't a bad thing. It's actually a really great thing, because, you know, when it is time for the other person to carry something, they're willing to do that.
That's so good. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, at what point did you recognize that you were in a toxic relationship, or that you were experiencing you being toxically loyal? Like, what gave that away for you?
Yeah, I think moments that I've found myself in those situations, I'm super grateful because I have an awesome tribe, and it's usually those people who help me identify when I'm in those moments. Like, I have been known, and I have no shame sharing this, but I've been known to drown myself to the point to where I cannot see above.
Wow.
And it's hard, and it sucks to be in that place. And even, like, you know, for my friends and my loved ones who've seen me in those spaces, I can only imagine what it feels like for them to actually see somebody that they love so much. But I'm super grateful that I have people in my life who really can help identify when I am in a toxic situation, when I have toxic loyalty with someone. Even recently, my mom, she pointed out, like, hey, this is a situation that you're in, but do you recognize that you keep showing up for somebody who's not showing up for you at all?
Whoa.
And hearing that come from my mom, I was like, dang, she's right. And if it wasn't for her, I would have continued to overcompensate for that person to make them happy when and it's not always about being considered, but people that you have healthy relationships with, they do consider you at least a little bit. Yeah. And I wasn't being considered in that time. So I would definitely say that it's people that are in your life that can help you identify that. But also, I think you get to a point of self-awareness where you can call yourself out to be like, I'm walking into something that I know is not good for me. Right. So, like, I really need to check myself. And I feel like I kind of mentioned this last episode as well. But it's like really knowing, like, you are the person who is allowing yourself to walk into this. So are you going to continue to walk forward, or are you going to walk a different way?
Whoa. Well, I think it's important to mention, just to kind of touch up on something you said, you talked about a tribe. And I think it's important to mention that it's so good to have, whether it's a group of people, whether it's one person, whether it's your cat, to have an atmosphere where you can, like, vent or, like, outwardly process the things, because sometimes it sounds fine in your mind. Yeah. And then you say it out loud and you're like, I'm crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Or like, oh my God, I didn't think that I would ever do that. Right. Or you catch yourself, like, saying the things that you never thought you would, like, admit. And so I think it's so important to have that tribe. I think it's so important to have that atmosphere, or that whatever that looks like, a small group, a family member, a friend. Like I said, you know,
even a journal.
It's so important, because some people are outward processors. Some people don't hear it or perceive it the same way until they hear themselves, you know, say it. Or even you hear your girlfriend say, did that make sense to you? You know what I mean? I've had someone repeat something back to me and they're like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, no, I am not. You know what I mean?
I take it back.
I'm like, I'm just, and eat coffee. Right. You know what I mean? So I think that's so dope. Like, I think that's important, and I think it's super dope. I want to say that I have an issue with, like, my recognizing of toxic loyalty looks like approval rather than happiness.
Wow.
Like, and it's not even with like a partner or a lover or like an intimate relationship. Like, it's happened with family members where I'm more concerned about how you're affirming me, or if I'm pleasing you, or me receiving your praise. And it's not even like I need to I need to be the highlight. It's like, am I enough? Mm-hmm. Like, are you satisfied with my behavior? And when I saw myself, I'm going to say that because I'm thankfully, like, I feel like I'm in a place of recognizing that. Mm-hmm. But when I saw myself be more concerned with being affirmed by someone who wasn't interested in affirming me, or needing that feedback from someone that didn't desire to give that to me, I had to stop, because I wasn't concerned about how happy I am when I'm around that person, or how valuable our relationship is. And that's the kind of thing that makes me feel like I'm loyal to toxicity. Like, I don't want to be in any relationship. I don't care if it's my mailman. Like, I don't want to be in any relationship where I feel like I need your praise to move on, or I need your approval to move on. And I think that was a struggle for me.
Wow. That's hard, and that's such a hard space to be in, and I think more people are in it than we probably even think.
Right.
Like, I want to ask you a question based off of that thought of going to approval, like, from your family. Why is it that I think, like, in a way, could it be so connected to, like, our identity?
Ooh, what do you mean?
Like, I would say most people, I'm gonna make a generalization here, so I might be a little far-fetched, but approval from our family comes from something that's rooted in our identity. Meaning that, like you had mentioned, not good enough. I need to, prove to you that I am this person or this, like, idea, of who you think that I am in your head and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so I guess my question is, how do we unleash from that? How do you break that connection? How do you break that connection of my identity or this approval that I'm wanting should actually be rooted in, do you and I have a happy relationship with one another? Am I bringing value to your life, and are you bringing value to my life? Not as in this, like, surface level of what do I look like to you on the outside? Because really, like, that's heart stuff, right?
Yeah. So, okay, here's my theory. Shoot it down if you want. But
I'm ready.
I think that, and I can only speak for my culture, for anybody out there, I would be wrong to speak for anything outside of what I know about African American culture and just my family, or even not even speaking for the culture, but my family. I feel like we were raised to represent our parents. Like, if you walked out the house looking crazy, right? Your mom will snatch you right back in that thing. Don't you walk out here looking crazy. People gonna think that People gonna think that I don't feed you. People gonna think that I don't. Like,
did you put lotion on your elbows and your knees? Right.
Why'd you immediately go there?
Because we all know. If you know, you know. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I think that there is this representation of, I have to look a certain way, or according to what I'm told I represent. And that can go any kind of way. It can go to families that are very well to do, and hey, like, we have a reputation to keep up. That could go anyway. That could go to, like, PKs, pastors' kids, right? Don't do this. We have a church to lead. Like, there's so many different ways that can go. And I feel like we were in a position where we represented our parents. So growing up knowing that anything I do can very well get back to my mom or get back to my dad, and I could A, get in trouble, B, make them look bad, C, now create a reputation for myself. Like, I don't want it though. I don't want those problems.
Right.
So what does that lead to? Now I got to be careful what I do or how I feel free to think, because I don't want to get in trouble by you, or I don't want to do anything to make you look less than A, B, or C, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we grow up with this, like, am I still right? Am I doing it right? Am I on the right path? Am I at the school that you wanted me to go to? Am I wearing what you, like, I've caught myself being interested in things that my parents were interested in, because that's what brought me closer to them. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, my kids, I have a boy and a girl. And until my son was born, I did not know the ins and outs of an ankylosaurus, right? I am a pro in dinosaurology.
Because he is a pro.
This guy spits dinosaur facts on a daily. Now, I could very well say, I would like for you to be interested in something else, but my whole 34-year-old self will sit crisscross applesauce on the floor and study dinosaur books with this young man because it makes him happy. And so there's not necessarily a question of, hey, like, Mom, am I doing something that makes you pleased or that pleases you? Because I want there to be that mutual, like, we're having fun doing something you like too. So just to round my point right back up, because I know I veered, to round it up, like, we are representing our parents. Mm-hmm. I know it was out of respect for them. I know that they're not necessarily, I'm not saying that they were necessarily trying to control us. Mm-hmm. But going off of that theory, we're bound to go through life wanting to please them or do something that makes them happy. That could extend to grandma and grandpa. Mm-hmm. That could extend to aunties and uncles. That could extend to cousins. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, all my aunts, they sing. Mm-hmm. So guess what I did? I sang, like, because we sing, and, like, I want, you know what I mean, to have that in common with them. So there's so much that I guess that could be taken the wrong way. And then there's, like, these happy commonplaces. Yeah. And so where it can go wrong, I feel, is when we feel like it's every single move that we need to, like, check in on that. Yeah.
No, you're right on point. That's one context, right? Of, like, a family. But in more of a general sense, why do people stay?
You're not ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready because I need answers. This is for you, but this is for me.
There's a few things. Like, I feel like it can be, like, loyalty, like we're talking about, right? Like, we feel like because we've been together for so long, or because you're my family, or because we've been through this one situation together, we've struggled through this, like, I owe you this investment, right? I think that it could also be a fear of growth. I think that it could be, I think there's so many answers. Like, I don't choose one. Like, what do you?
Yeah, I think also I just want to mention, like, we're absolutely sensitive to all people's situations.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody has their things that happen and their situations that you and I have not been, in, and we're just solely speaking, like, from our experience. And
we would never speak to something that yes, I agree with you, Jasmine.
Yeah. But I would say, if I had to put it in one word, it'd be comfort. Ooh. We stay because of comfort. When you find something comfortable, mm-hmm. you don't have to do a lot of work. Mm-hmm. You don't have to make any changes. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I'm going to sit here and be stagnant, but that does not mean that you're thriving, right?
Right.
And I think a big thing that I've experienced is not being able to see a different reality for myself. Mm. When I used the metaphor earlier of, like, I'm drowning and I can't see the surface. could not see another reality for myself. I couldn't see a different situation that I could be in. I couldn't see something that was better, you know, because I thought the friendship with this person, like, they just brought me so much to my life, and like, how am I gonna get better, you know, a better friend than they are? But in all actuality, they don't care about you. You were we mentioned this offline, like, you were a reason friend. Or you were a seasonal friend. Therefore, there was a lesson in that for you or the other person, or there was like a seasoned friend. You were temporary. That's not a bad thing whatsoever. But, you know, when you leech on to something like that, like, hey, you gotta let that go. Like, cut the fat.
Season is over.
Right. You know. So I would definitely say, like, not being able to see a different reality for yourself, but also it's the fear of unknown.
That's good.
To be able to, you know, be courageous and, you know, step out and create your own reality, like, that's scary because there's no path that's perfect. You know, things are hard, and that's why comfort is so comforting. Like, it's just like, this is my warm and cozy place, even though it sucks and it's dark and it's rainy, but I don't have to go anywhere. Whereas, like, you know, stepping out to the unknown, like, there's just endless possibilities, but if you have a perspective to see it differently, then you'll leave.
Right. It's the children of Israel cycle, right? Where, you know, Moses is like, hey, I got something better for y'all. You know, we're going to suffer a little bit, but let's go. And, you know, there's a point where they're like, take us back to Pharaoh. At least we knew that struggle. You got us out here in this desert. Right? Right. But at least we're used to this suffering. At least we're used to this. Like, we want to go back to that suffering, not realizing, like, there's something better on the other side. That's good right there. So with that, I think is scary about toxic loyalty is, like, I think people stay because of the time put in. Like, there's this misconception that, like, time is just as good of an investment as money. It is not. Right? It's not. Like, you will have people say, like, yeah, you know, they've done me wrong, but, like, we've known each other for 15 years, so... And I, like, here's how I see it, okay? We're based in Washington, y'all, and I'm from LA, and I literally like to drive from Washington to California.
Like a mad person.
I like it, okay? So Washington to California, it's the 5 straight up, right? If I were driving and somehow I got on the wrong freeway and ended up going towards Vegas or whatever, I wouldn't just keep going towards Vegas. I'd realize I'm going the wrong way, and I'd take my butt back to the 5 and go to California. Going the wrong way for a long time doesn't make me want to keep going the wrong way, right? Like, at some point, I'm like, I don't care how long I've been on this wrong freeway, I have to get back to where I was trying to go in the first place. So when I hear people say, well, I've known them for so long, even though I know you've been unhappy for so long, or even though I know you've suffered in this relationship for so long, I'm like, why would you continue going the wrong way in a relationship when you can take your behind right out and go towards a happier self, a happier you? And I think that's a huge struggle. You're not going to meet anybody that's like, well, I've been on this road for 3 hours, I might as well just keep going. I'm going to end up on the East Coast, y'all. I'm not going to Virginia. No, I'm going to California. Gotta go. Right? So that sounds so silly to me, but, like, we do it, right? And I'm not, like, everybody's situation is different, like we've said. And there's no judgment. There's nothing wrong with how you process or perceive that. My goal or my desire for anybody listening is that your awareness is on 10. Yep. I'm not saying you're going to handle it the way that I'm doing it. You're not going to handle it the way that Jasmine does. You just have to learn yourself and what that awareness looks like. Because you could very well be like, I know how bad my relationship is, but guess what? It's serving a purpose for me right now, and I'm fine right here. So I don't need your little chat up, okay? Showing up for you podcast. Like, you could very
But we're
well,
in your ears though, so
you could very well, and that's your world. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's something that I have to keep telling myself is like, you can't keep going the wrong way. You know?
Because also, if you keep going the wrong way, you're not growing towards where you're trying to go.
Not.
You're literally like wrong direction. The growth that you're trying to have happen in Washington is not going to happen on the East Coast.
Right.
It's probably going to be more difficult because you waste time driving the other way.
Right.
Right?
You were supposed to be going to California, girl.
Right, wrong way. Let's turn around. And like, I think speaking to growth, recognizing that you might be hindering somebody else's growth as well. Because I think that's why, you know, I'll speak to like friendships, for instance. I've stayed friends with people for much longer than I needed to because I couldn't put my pride aside to leave, even though I knew it'd probably be better for them too. Because I think in our heads, like, sometimes they're like, well, they just need us in our lives. Like, if they did not tell you, do not make assumptions. Do not make assumptions that that person needs you in their life, because they probably have other friends. They have family members. There's probably other people in their lives. So I think it's wrong for us to make assumptions that we should be in people's lives. So, you know, if we're really invested in people the way that some of us claim to be, like, we shouldn't be invested enough or care enough to be able to exit.
Wow.
For both parties.
Right. Like, it's selflessness, and it's like, I want you to grow, and I'm not prepared to help you grow, or I don't want, you know, I don't want to. I've seen relationships where it's like, hey, like, I'm not in the position to support you while you chase your dream this way. I'm doing something else, and like, at that rate, let that go. You know, so there's different reasons, and like, nobody's saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I think you're right. Is like, for the sake of the other person, if you recognize that, if you're aware, like, we are not it, you know, that's good right there. But that does take a lot of, like, that takes awareness. Like, that's brave too. Like,
I think ultimately, like, all things come back to self-awareness, really. And like you said, if your self-awareness is on a 10, let the other dominoes fall. Yeah. You know?
You good, sis? You good, bro? You know, it's crazy. And I think what I've been avoiding this topic right here the whole podcast, guys. So my biggest issue with toxic loyalty is I don't know if anybody has ever been told this. You have to forgive them. They're your family. Like, has anybody ever said that to you? Like, I know that they did you wrong, and I know they keep hurting you, but that's your brother, that's your sister, that's your uncle. Like, there's so much that I think is wrong with that, for a few reasons. It's not my job to put my relationship with someone over, like, the humane things that are going on. Like, it's your job to be a good human first. Before you are a relative, you are a human being. And it is your job to be responsible for these humane or inhumane acts towards other people.
Right.
Secondary is the fact that you are a relative to me. So if you are responsible for being a good human, I'm looking at you as another human, and I have a right to process, forgive, ask for forgiveness. I have a right to do that however I need to. It is inappropriate, I feel, to force someone to get over something or forgive someone or stay in a toxic relationship or continue suffering because that is your family member. I think that is wrong.
Yeah,
and it's good. So hindering. Like, we feel like our family or our, like, close friends can do anything to us and we have to forgive them. And that's abuse. Like, let's just say it plain and simple. Yep. You know, you might have family members that, like, shoot your dreams down and make you feel silly for being emotional, or make you feel silly for even being imaginative, right? And it's it's hurtful to have to excuse that behavior because that's your family. And I think that it can get it can be really hindering to growth.
Absolutely. Right? And just to say it, long-term growth.
Oh, yeah.
Because so much, I feel, as to what you're saying, it's long-term. Those are things that are long-lasting. They show up in different moments of your life. They hinder your growth in your career, when you're trying to make new friends, when you're trying to trust somebody romantically, when you're, wanting to step out and do something courageous because you imagine something so incredible that could change the world, but because you have these voices in your head that says, like, no, you just dream too big. That product could change the world. You better create it, and you go ahead and cash your check. Right. Get your money, because we're about that too. But, I want to ask you a question. Do you think that a toxic relationship or toxic loyalty to somebody can turn around?
Do I think it can turn around? Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is that? How is that played out in your life, or what does that look like?
It's being willing to be aware. You said it. It goes back to awareness, wanting to see yourself from a different perspective. I see it as, if you and I are in a relationship, even you and I is in niece, I could very well demean you underhandedly. I could speak to you in a demeaning way. You might not, or you might grow the bravery, I guess, to one day say, okay, not anymore, Auntie Shon. That's enough. If I'm willing, if I love you the way I say I love you, or I want to be, in your life the way I say I want to be in your life, it might be hard for me to swallow, but my job is to say, okay, so what am I doing to make you feel this way? And okay, I'm going to try to change that. It might be hard, and I'm going to take a correction, but I'm going to change that. And it's the steps after. It's, am I now becoming aware? Even if it means like me and you having a conversation and I'm like, was that fine? Do you feel fine after that conversation? But it takes for you to be willing to be aware, or willing to want to, I feel, make that change. Because if we're honest, we've all done toxic things to somebody else.
Right.
We all have. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's as heavy as you think it is, but it could be a behavior that, like for my family, we are sarcastic. We will make fun of everything. That's not everybody else's family.
Right. Y'all better be ready.
Right? Like when I say the roasting session starts before you even get up, it is. But everybody isn't like that. And so there may be a time that someone's like, hey, Shon, I don't welcome that here. Yeah. Me being willing to change that. And it's not that like what I was doing was so hurtful. It's that this is just something that doesn't fit this person's personality. So like I said, we could all have our version of toxicity or being toxic. But at the end of the day, are we willing to fix that? Are we willing to accommodate the other person and not make them feel like they're compromising their peace by being in a relationship or connection with us?
Yeah, I want to say that you have always been in my life somebody who approaches conversation with such honesty, but also with delicacy.
Thank you.
I think that is something that's so huge, and outside of our personal relationship, just moments that you're talking with your family or your friends, like if you hear about, because I think like not all conversations have to be defined as hard conversations.
True.
I want to mention that as well. Telling somebody, does this make you uncomfortable? It's not a hard conversation. It's an honest question, but it's like, your tone of voice can make it delicate or whatnot. But all that to say, I don't think that happens often enough.
Right.
Where that delicacy is met with that honesty.
Right.
Because that can totally change the trajectory of going from something that's toxic to shifting to something that's healthy. Because you just want to know.
Right.
For the better of everybody here.
I'm so appreciative that we're able to have these conversations. I'm also very thankful to you guys that actually have the time or like gave us a piece of your day to listen, even if it's in bits and pieces. Thank you for giving us that space to outwardly process this. And we would actually really love your feedback. If you haven't had the chance, visit our Instagram page. We love to see comments. We love to see feedback.
Yeah.
And you guys, like, we're open to opinions. We are not always right. We are not the end all be all of these topics. We are simply sharing the awareness that we've gained, because just like you all, we've been through this stuff. So again, y'all, thank you for joining us for this. And we're excited to hear how y'all feel about toxic loyalty.
Tell us about your toxic relationships, because we all got them.
Spill the tea. So you guys, thank you. And we're going to see you guys next time.
See you soon.
Bye.